The question I want to ask is, I mean, why is it difficult for the federal government to implement the Memorandum of Understanding it signed with ASUU in 2009? I mean, 3 years after that agreement, 9 points. Why is it difficult? Why are we at this logjam at this time, 3 years after that?
I talked about good faith. Memorandum of Understanding, by its very nature in law,
Yes.
is not a contract.
Okay.
It's not an agreement
Okay.
that is enforceable.
Okay.
It's an expression of intention
Okay.
that if this or that happen, we are likely to agree on this, even if it is to put it down. So if you don't have good faith,
Yes.
you can renege on that, and it's not actionable in law, but it's actionable in conscience. And especially where the expectation is that you have access to the best of teams. You had control of the factors, because government is a leviathan. It's just like a big daddy somewhere.
Yes.
You can never have your way if he does not give you the way or give you the opportunity to ride short on that road.
Yes.
So those teams that went to negotiate, because the MOU was a product of a negotiated outcome.
Yes.
And they came to table not by the barrels of the gun, but with the intention to find solution to the problem
situation
at that material period.
Yes.
Having been so negotiated and agreed upon, captured in an MOU,
Yes.
which federal government also signs when it goes to China,
Yes.
it signs when it goes to UK, it signs when it goes to America,
And
and
they follow
therefore
through.
expect that those other parties
Yes.
should respect the terms.
Such MOUs.
Exactly.
Yes.
So why would it not respect it down here? Granted that even if the economic situation had changed, and you are not bringing back those people who negotiated out the government own side. Because
But it's
maybe they
not
were
about
good
it's
enough.
not about individuals. It's about an institution,
Government
which is government. So
an
whoever is
institution,
coming
it's an
in,
institution, but they are, it's just like a company. A company is a body that is known to law.
Okay.
But it has no hand, it has no leg.
I'm sure that even ASUU,
Yes.
as a responsible organization, are no longer comfortable with this perennial strike.
Exactly.
It's
Yes.
obvious. I mean, those of us who are also in support of what they are doing find it somewhat difficult, as it were,
Yes.
to rationalize the fact that such an intellectually driven organization,
Yes.
such an organization that has depth of knowledge in terms of variety of ideas on how to deal with
issues.
and
Yes.
every situation, will be stuck at the level of strike. But, you know, it was Pahadesanya who answered a question with yet another question, but made it very clear. When he was asked what was his view about the OPC,
Yes.
he said, and I quote, "You need the aggression of the madman at home to ward off the invasion of the madman outside."
Let's hear Dr. Chima's view on this. I mean, looking at the funding for education, what do you think?
First and foremost,
Yes.
I am not one of those who are impressed about the amount of money thrown at a problem. It is not so much about the quantum of money.
Yes.
It is the quality of thinking that goes
Into
the process,
Yes.
which could equally help to minimize the amount of money that could be used
Yes.
for that particular process. For example, if you even budgeted twice this amount that is available now,
Yes.
it will go down the various purses of those individuals that are involved in policy making. The more the money, the more they contrive means of siphoning the money.
Yes. So what do you think?
The issue is planning.
Okay.
It is inconceivable that when we have not been able to manage the few universities that were in existence, that every local government now is angling to own a university, or federal government is angling to plate a university.
Yes.
just as they want to create more states,
Yes.
when the existing states are incapable of fending for themselves. So it is only in Nigeria that you have such preposterous propositions. It is unsensible. So funding, if you increase funding with the presumption, which may be right,
Yes.
if the presumption is right, that it is going into the right processes,
Yes.
that is welcome. The educational system is yearning for development.
Seriously.
But development must be total.
Yes.
You develop the individuals that are within the system, then you develop the materials they are going to use. Like I said, we don't have very good students. There are very few good ones. We don't have very good lecturers. There are very few good ones.
I think it's
We
because when you talk about not having good lecturers, I
Yes.
think it's as a result of the system also.
The
that
system,
threw
I
up
said that the
these,
system itself
lecturers.
needs a total reorientation. The lecturers, many of the lecturers that came in, in our days, very
Yes.
few of us wanted to go to teach.
Yes.
You understand?
But now
so
people-
the few that remained back, some of them were not the best.
Yes.
So they went to do their masters,
Yes.
then proceeded to perhaps. Do you know that even a PhD holder, there are so many PhD holders that cannot write one-page essay on their subject.
That's another
On their
thing,
subject.
That's another thing to
some
look at.
students will tell you that a lecturer who has been teaching since 1980
Yes.
will use the same example he used for those who graduated in 1984 to illustrate a point in 2013.
That's
What does
unfortunate.
that tell you?
Now, let me paint a scenario for you. I mean, look at Ghana. Most of our politicians now send their children to Ghana.
That's right.
I mean, why
Even
do we
Benin
have,
Republic here.
Yes, why do we have to have such a situation when we are supposed to be the giant of Africa in terms of everything, not just as a name,
I
but
think we are
mean,
no longer priding ourselves as the giant of Africa.
No, but we are.
No.
Okay.
I understand.
Giant with a foot of clay.
Those who tout that,
Yes.
watch their lips carefully.
Okay.
He said these days with equivocation,
Okay.
because the facts are clear. In law, we say rep cesar loquitur.
Yes.
The fact speaks for itself.
Yes.
Now, I always admire his views.
Yes.
But let me rub in the point,
Okay.
which was what he was responding to regarding the budgetary allocation. There's a fundamental crisis that must arise naturally
Yes.
from such skewed allocation, where in the present budget, you had, until it was, effectively renounced, budgetary allocation for the office of the First Lady.
The First
You
Lady,
remember
yes.
that?
Yes,
Now, we
it
got
was.
that low, as well as other frivolous, what we usually call elephant projects, or white elephant projects,
Yes.
that gulped a better chunk of the Nigerian economy. Now, if you are degenerated to that level, one, the office of the First Lady is never a constitutional creation. And therefore, the transgression of making budgetary allocation to a non-existing body under the
Yes,
Constitution
yes.
clearly shows that there is nothing the National Assembly, House of Reps, whatever, we're doing, until we also have to raise the alarm, just as we did with the child marriage, whatever.
Yes.
Now, I have made this point because the crisis in the educational sector is no longer all that meets the eye. I can give you one very embarrassing circumstance in which we had to also fight.
Yes.
Salisu Buhari, a felon, a convicted felon.
I remember him very well.
Listen, first speaker upon the return of democracy
Yes.
or civil rule in Nigeria, was appointed into the governing council of University of Nigeria. Governing council is the engine room. It was so embarrassing because if you had an institution that has its mission statement,
Yes.
the motto,
Yes.
as to restore the dignity of man, as conceived by one of the greatest African thinkers, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, it will be completely inimical
To have this.
to have a convicted, notwithstanding that they said he was pardoned, That he was pardoned does not detract from the fact that he has, integrity deficit. If federal government can only deal with the question of corruption,
yes.
If federal government at the moment can curb the oil theft, as we understand it, gobs as much as billions every week, they can channel this money and resources to the university education. Let ASUU intensify its struggle,
yes.
and then so that you know that the strength really of your oppressor lies in your weakness.
Indeed, the strength of your oppressor lies in your weakness. That's what Malaki is saying. But, we are so passionate about our educational system because it is very, very key to our national development. Therefore, whatever the reasons, adduced by both parties, that is the government or ASUU, not to entrench an enduring educational system are not tenable. The reasons really are not tenable. The reality of their actions is that Nigeria is gradually grinding into an educational abyss, and this is obviously having a spiral effect on every facet of our nation. We must all, I don't think really we should destroy our huge human capacity, like we have done the natural resources that God has endowed our nation with. Let us all rise up to the challenge. It's so important. And that's the much we can take on the program today. So many things to talk about on ASUU, but we'll come back some other time to look at the development. I know that they are negotiating right now, and by next week, hopefully, I'm sure the strike will be over. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for calling Ken from Lagos. Bye-bye now. God bless you.